Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a tier list for all of the next gen master set players from the next gen event in Hockey Ultimate Team. Now, as always, I'm going to do my rankings based on context. So I'm going to explain, if you have certain players, then obviously certain cards are not going to matter as much, especially when it comes to the 3 defensemen that everyone's asking about. If you guys enjoy the video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. All right, let's get into it. All right, now I want to mention in terms of the cost right now, as these cards are getting to be a little bit more expensive because they're getting up to 93 overall and above. As it stands right now, collectibles are going for about 6,000 coins per, and it is going to cost you about 59, including the 3 to make an individual one. So you're looking at about 354,000 coins. So that is very expensive, and I want you guys to keep that in mind when we're talking about the rankings. All right, we'll start first in the C tier. We've got the 93 Daniela Pejova, 5'8", 161 left-handed defenseman. This has just become the norm at this point in the game. Everyone knows, if you've played Hockey Ultimate Team for a few years, that the bigger players, as you go along in Hockey Ultimate Team, because of progression, there is not individual builds. Essentially, it's just all stats go up to 99. And once that happens, the way the game is played, it is just a far bigger advantage for bigger players, and we're starting to see that much more clearly now. So 5'8", 161 as a defenseman, that's extremely difficult because you're not bumping anyone off the puck. Combine that with the fact there's no truculence, it means that you're essentially not hitting anyone once they start cycling on you. So if you're in Division 1 or 2, this is like an F tier card. Anyone a little bit lower where a lot of the game is played end-to-end, you could probably get away with a little bit more. Gold Stick 'em Up is a great ability. It's one of the better ones, but it's not going to make up for the fact that she's just not going to knock anyone off the puck, so she is in the C tier. Next, also in the C tier, is the 93 Jesper Wallstedt. I think that there are some master set goalies that can be worth making, especially if you have a God Squad. We've just seen that this is not really going to be worth an investment at all. We haven't found that one goalie that just appears to stop everything. This is the first year in a long time where if you asked everyone what their best goalie is, you might get 10 to 15 different responses. Goaltenders are broken, and until animations are fixed, it really doesn't matter. So Jesper Wallstedt's in the C tier. Good synergies, like you could use those, and good abilities, but it really wouldn't matter. And if you're going to spend 350,000 coins, then you've got every single fantasy card and the best team in the game. All right, on to the B tier, and this one comes with a caveat. The 93 overall Sarah Fillier, 5'5", 130. Now, I just mentioned that smaller players are going to struggle a lot more, especially in the higher divisions as the game goes along. However, Sarah Fillier has some of the best abilities in the game. I think she's in the B tier if you have Unstoppable Force activated. If you can activate that on her, again, I think she's a B tier card. However, if you can't, she's in the C tier. There's no way to be able to use a 5'5", 130 and not get absolutely thrown around. Marie-Philippe Poulin still remains one of the only usable women cards, and I think that some of them have this just inability to be hits, but you've got to activate Unstoppable Force, and that's 8 ability points right now, and there's so many other cards that have, kind of a bigger impact on the game right now. She's got incredible stats across the board. You can't argue that. 97 speed, 96 acceleration, 97 balance and endurance, but it really doesn't matter when essentially anyone can just bump her off the puck. So if you activate Unstoppable Force, B tier. If you can't, C tier. All right, next up in the B tier, we've got the 93 Kent Johnson. He's got Protector as well as Thief, so Thief will get his face-off rating a little bit higher, as well as Distributor and then Magician. I think the issue with Kent Johnson is 6'1", 175. Again, if you're going to use a centerman at this stage of the game, it's very, very difficult to have someone that you're just not going to be able to use well defensively. Gold Skilled Up is phenomenal if you can do the Michigan. If you can't, it's really not going to be useful at all. Skilled Up is one of the better abilities if you can actually pull it off, though. Close Quarters and Elite Edges is great, but again, it depends how high up in the lineup he is. Now, he is the first one I want to bring up because in my prior video I mentioned this. You need to start thinking about Team of the Season if you're going to play this game all the way through. Kent Johnson has an outside chance of getting Team of the Season if they do a Young Guns Team of the Season. For anyone that doesn't know what that is, Team of the Season is essentially a full team, like a Team of the Week, that works a lot like Team of the Year, where you get multiple synergies, they match the highest card out, and you don't have to pay for an upgrade, and everything like that. So it is something to keep in mind, because usually what they'll do is when the card has a prior master set player, you can trade them in for a discounted price. Now, Kent Johnson, as the recording of this video, is 5th in rookie scoring with 26 points in 50 games. There's a shot that he gets the Young Guns one. It also usually includes Europeans and things like that, so it's not guaranteed, but there is a strong shot. So if you wanted to make Kent Johnson and you were trying to decide between maybe a couple other players, there is a shot that he will get a Team of the Season upgrade. Next, we've got the 93 Brant Clark, 6'2", 185, and a really good assortment of abilities and and a really good assortment of synergies that can get him to a decent spot in terms of skating. So he can get to 92 or 93 acceleration as well as 93 speed, and then he's got Gladiator to get his body checking up to 90. I think the thing that hurts Brandt Clarke is that he's got really no defensive abilities at all. So he's got gold elite edges, which is fine to put on a defenseman. I've talked about this before, but it's very, very expensive, and he's got to be your number one defenseman to justify that. And obviously you can go with Cale Makar, and if you have him, you're not going to use that. I think Seeing Eye has some value still, but other than that, this is just kind of like a middle of the road defenseman that in his own zone is going to be very difficult to actually utilize, especially as we get into the later stages where everyone has unstoppable force. He also has played at like multiple levels this year. So he had 9 games with the Kings, then he also had a couple games with the Ontario Reign, and then he finally got sent down to the OHL, and he's roasted my Niagara Ice Dogs, but he's got 26 points in 15 games with the Barrie Colts. I don't know if that's going to justify giving him a team of the season, so keep that in mind. Also in the B tier, we've got the 93 Connor Bedard. So this is a card that I've used on the No Money Spent team, and while I think his shot is very, very useful, again, those low far side snipes and being able to pick the short side upstairs, it has definitely been useful, and you combined Unstoppable Force, Close Quarters, and Elite Edges, it makes him very impactful. It doesn't matter. Even with Unstoppable Force, there's so many defensemen that are either massive and have 99 body checking, or they have truculence, and it just wipes out Connor Bedard's Unstoppable Force. I'm someone that likes to hold on to the puck maybe a little bit too long, and especially if you're in Division 1 or 2, you're going to have a hard time using Connor Bedard. That's not saying he's a bad card at all. I just think that there are much better options. He will 100% get a Team of the Season card, however, so that will, of all of these cards in the B tier, he's probably the one that I would choose, because he's locked in for Team of the Season. All right, on to the A tier. We've got the 93 Matty Beniers, and he's right on the cusp. I've had a lot of people give me feedback on Matty Beniers, and it seems to be kind of split. But when you take a look at his build, 6'2", again, 178 is very light, and weight does matter in this game. It's not all just about height. So 93 speed. He does have buzzing as well as distributors, so you're going to get one there. Thief is very useful to get his face-offs up to 93. And then he's got gold elite edges, unstoppable force, which is the best combo. It'd be probably a little more useful to flip these because he is only 178. But nonetheless, at 93 speed, 94 acceleration, with unstoppable force, you're going to be able to get away with that. He's not going to be dominant knocking people off the puck, but I don't think he's going to be a liability. And much like Connor Bedard, he's guaranteed for a Team of the Season card because he is going to lead the league, well, at least currently is in NHL scoring among rookies. The issue is, if EA does not find a way to get their headshot in the game, because Team of the Season cards are usually headshots, or maybe they change them and make them all master set card art. If they don't include Beniers and Bedard, or Beniers and Ken Johnson or some other players because of that, that's absolutely brutal and an absolute massive issue that needs to be addressed immediately. So I'm going to bank on the fact that Beniers is going to get Team of the Season, because if he doesn't, it's an absolute joke. Next, in the A tier, we've got the 93 Matt Boldy, 6'2", 201, a much better build in comparison to some of the other players. He's not going to get a Team of the Season card, so you have to take that into account, but gold unstoppable force and close quarters is a phenomenal combo. He's got 94 speed, 93 acceleration, a mid-90s shot, mid-90s hand stats. He's everything that you want in a left-handed winger. However, I think that if he doesn't have unstoppable force, he probably falls down a little bit. So again, that's going to depend on what you've got in your lineup and how high up he goes. All right, on to the S tier. We've got the 93 Juraj Slafkovsky. If you were dead set on making a forward from this release, Slafkovsky would be the one that I would go after. I made him on the God Squad. You can get him up to 93 speed, 93 acceleration, and then you can throw Magician on to almost max out his agility. He's got gold close quarters, which is phenomenal, but I think the big thing here, guys, is that when you think about master set players, everyone just assumes that you can activate all their abilities, but obviously you can, especially if you've got Team of the Season cards, or maybe you've got team builders. Like, those cards are going to be more impactful. So while you have these new master set players, which are great, you're probably going to activate some abilities on them, but as the season goes along for the rest of the year, they're going to fall further and further in the lineup, and you're going to remove their abilities. 6'3", 238 with 93 speed and acceleration is phenomenal. I've used him. He does not get knocked off the puck at all, even without unstoppable force. He's been a really fun card to use so far, and everyone that I've talked to in the community has really, really enjoyed him. If you were going to make one, Slafkovsky would be the forward I would make. All right, on to to the S tier defenseman. I feel like everyone that is watching this video has been waiting for this because I've gotten nothing but a million comments about the 3 left-handed defensemen that they released. And I have to say, I'm glad that they did this because it's players that like deserve it, and it's not just them hammering in players for each position. The next gen event should be just about the best young players, and they did do that. So, all right, the 93 Simon Edvinsson, 6'6", 215, which is obviously endgame size. You can't raise up size attributes, you know what I mean? So that's absolutely phenomenal. The middle ability, I would go with Magician, and then he's got Spark or Distributor. I would obviously go with Spark. So he's got 92 acceleration, 91 speed, then Gold Stick him up. This is essentially a cheaper version of the X Factor Hedman, and Hedman has been lights out so far. I've talked about this a lot. I think that if you're in Division 1 or 2, Hedman is an absolute lockdown card to get, and it's not so much about his hitting and things like that. It's the gold stick him up on someone that's 6'6", because his range is so far, and you're going to see a lot of that with Simon Edvinsson. Now, I have gotten some word with people that have Edvinsson as well as Hedman, and he does not feel the same in terms of like snappiness with skating. So keep that in mind. But if you can't get X Factor Hedman and you're in the higher divisions, Edvinsson is a decent replacement. However, you have to understand he is not going to get team of the season. So keep that in mind if you want to, think about long term. Also in the S tier is the 93 Jake Sanderson. This is pretty obvious. 6'3", 195. It's gold truculence. If you have truculence on Jake Sanderson, he's one of the best defensemen in the game right now. His other abilities you don't need to activate. 93 speed, 93 acceleration, and again, you can go up to 94 acceleration if you throw Spark on him. It's really just become evident, guys, that truculence is a counter to Unstoppable Force, and if they don't have Unstoppable Force, like, you're just going to be able to bump everyone, throw everyone off the puck. He's been a phenomenal defenseman, and he has a good shot at getting team of the season as he's top 3 in rookie scoring among defensemen, so I think that it's pretty safe, and if you want to go with Jake Sanderson, there's really no problem. If you have him, and you're thinking about breaking him down to go with some of the other defensemen or a forward, I wouldn't. I think that this is a very, very good defenseman in the game. And then lastly, we've got the 93 Owen Power, and they played it very safe with Owen Power because obviously he's 6'6", 218, although they didn't with Edvinsson. But first of all, Owen Power is an awesome card because everyone's been waiting for him to get in the game. He has no headshot, and now finally we get an actual usable card. His synergies, not good. Like I said, they played it very safe. Applesauce and Bombarded on the first tier is essentially a waste of a synergy slot. It's got buzzing and distributors, so either speed or acceleration can go to 92, and then Light the Lamp is just not something that you need on a defenseman at all. Combine that with the fact you have gold elite edges, which would be very useful, but the cost is so high that I don't think I would activate that on him. Unstoppable Force on a defenseman, again, that's a little bit more valuable, but it depends on your play style. Like on Kale McCarr, it makes a lot more sense because you're beelining just straight through the neutral zone and you're breaking the puck in with him and all that. If you go for a lot of tip shots and you kind of hold on to the puck at the point with him, that could be useful. The only ability that I think is absolute must-have on him is Shutdown, because Shutdown acts like stick 'em up, as well as Truculence off the rush. However, it says off the rush, but off the rush activates in your own zone or pretty much everywhere. It gets a little sketchy though when they're cycling around your own zone, so keep that in mind, but it's still probably the one I would definitely activate on him. Now, I've used him. He felt extremely good as a skater, left and right. Like, I thought that he might be, a little sluggish and things like that. I didn't notice that at all. I don't know if it's because he's so massive, but he's also going to more than likely get a team of the season card. He's top 3 in defenseman in scoring. But again, it's going to be interesting to see how EA handles that because there is no headshot. If you want to be super safe, again, I think that, Jake Sanderson only has a few more points than Owen Power, but he still has a few more points than him. They're very, very close. As of the recording, Sanderson has 21 points, Owen Power has 19, and Owen Power is also a plus 10, so maybe that comes into it. I think that Sanderson with Truculence probably has a little bit more impact right now, but much like Slavkovsky, guys, Owen Power, even without any abilities activated, and if he falls down in your lineup, you can't really find 6'6". Like, you're not going to increase that on Sanderson. Owen Power is a very, very safe card to build, and again, one that I've really enjoyed using so far. All right, guys, so that is going to do it for the tier list for the next gen event. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.